You're not supposed to notice this. Not at the beginning, not when everything still feels normal, comfortable, and easy to understand. In fact, the entire structure of situations like this depends on you not noticing what's happening while it's still small, while it's still easy to question, while it's still something you could walk away from without thinking twice. Because if you did notice it early, if you actually stopped and paid attention to those first subtle changes, the situation would never fully develop. And that's what makes it so effective. It doesn't rely on confusion or chaos in the beginning, it relies on normalcy. Let me explain what that really means. Most people believe they would recognize something wrong immediately. They think they would feel it, question it, and remove themselves right away. But in reality, recognition doesn't happen like that. There is no clear signal that tells you this is where you should stop. Instead, everything begins in a way that feels right, logical, and aligned with what you expect. And because it feels right, your mind doesn't go into defense mode. It stays relaxed, open, and receptive. At the start, everything blends into what you already understand as normal. The conversations make sense, the interactions feel natural. Nothing stands out as extreme or unusual. There are no dramatic shifts, no obvious warning signs, no clear moments that force you to pause and question what's happening. And because nothing disrupts your expectations, your brain categorizes the situation as safe without even needing to analyze it deeply. Then something small happens. Not big enough to alarm you, not strong enough to break the pattern, just enough to slightly change the direction of what's happening. It could be a small request, a subtle shift in tone, or a moment where something feels just slightly different than before. But because it's so minor, you don't treat it as important. You don't stop. You don't question it. You move forward as if nothing changed. That's the part you're not supposed to notice. Because if you actually paused at that moment, if you took the time to question why something felt different, the entire flow of the situation would be interrupted. But most people don't pause. They continue. They follow the same rhythm, the same pattern, the same direction. And because everything still feels mostly the same, there's no strong reason to step back. As time goes on, those small moments don't stay isolated. They begin to connect. One small shift leads to another, and then another. And because each change is only slightly different from the last, it feels like a natural progression instead of a transformation. You don't feel like you're entering something new. You feel like you're continuing something familiar. This is where perception starts to play a powerful role. People rely heavily on how things feel in the moment. If something feels comfortable, they assume it's safe. If something feels familiar, they assume it's normal. But the problem is, feelings are based on what you've already accepted, not necessarily on what is actually happening. So if you accept something early, everything that follows starts to feel acceptable too. Consistency also reinforces this effect. When something or someone shows up the same way repeatedly, it creates a predictable pattern. And once your brain recognizes that pattern, it stops analyzing it as deeply. It becomes routine, something expected, something that doesn't require attention anymore. And when attention decreases, awareness naturally follows. That's when things become harder to recognize. Not because they are hidden, but because they are embedded within something that already feels normal. At that point, even if something slightly off happens again, your reaction is different. Instead of questioning it, you adjust to it. You tell yourself it's part of the situation. You explain it in a way that keeps everything consistent in your mind. There may even be moments where something feels clearly different, but by then you've already accepted so much of the situation that stopping feels unnecessary or even uncomfortable. You don't want to disrupt something that has felt stable for so long. So instead of questioning it, you move forward again, allowing the situation to continue developing. So what should you actually take from this? It's not about becoming overly cautious or analyzing every small detail in your life. That's not realistic, and it's not the goal. The goal is awareness. Understanding that the most important moments are often the ones that feel too small to matter. The moments that don't seem worth questioning. The ones that pass by quickly without leaving a strong impression. Because those small moments are usually where everything begins. Pay attention to the first time something feels slightly different. Not completely wrong, not alarming, just different enough to notice. Recognize when you feel the need to explain something away instead of understanding it. And stay aware of patterns that become comfortable too quickly, because comfort can sometimes hide change. Because the truth is, you're not supposed to notice it. But the moment you do, the moment you pause and actually pay attention to those small shifts, everything starts to look different. And that awareness is what gives you the ability to step back, to question, and to stay in control of the direction you choose to take next. We're here to raise awareness on sex trafficking. Your voice matters. Join us.